I heard some interesting books from Prague have arrived at the castle. There's one I'd like to borrow. An alchemist's cookbook. A sand-coloured cover, embossed.
Yes, several rare and astonishing books have arrived from Prague. But why are you interested in an alchemist's cookbook, of all things?
I've heard there are some interesting ideas in it. Every alchemist is in dogged pursuit of wisdom, especially those from Prague.
Perhaps you know more about that book than I do. Well, I'll have to disappoint you. Lord Nікварда helped me sort the new books at the time, and the one you're looking for caught his attention. He left with it before I could even discover what it's about. All I remember is the author's initials, B.B. I'm fairly benevolent when it comes to lending books, and I appreciate Nікварda's help, but he's had it borrowed for an excessive amount of time now. I'd like to ask him to return it, but he's been avoiding me.
Why would Nікварda suddenly be avoiding you?
I have a sneaking suspicion. It seems Nікварda lost the book. I've warned him repeatedly not to carry borrowed books around with him, but to leave them in his chamber and read them there. But Nікварda is old and stubborn, and this is how things turn out.
The price of such a book must be incalculable. People like Nікvard are too dumb to understand.
But I digress. As I said, Nікварda is intentionally avoiding me. But I've made headway. I've managed to find 3 people who've spoken to him recently. Bertha, the cook, Regina, the maid, and Hirsch, the hand.
I reckon those aren't the only 3 people that know him.
I'm surprised that he's ever spoken to anyone but myself. Nікварda is a loner, which is also why I suspect something bad has happened. Now that he's decided to leave his shell, that is. But I'm afraid that's all I've managed to find out. Since Lord von Berkove's arrival, I've been preoccupied with other matters.
I thought you had the book on you. But since you don't, I'm not going to go around looking for it.
That's a pity. I'll just have to hope Nікварda's conscience will catch up with him and he'll come by himself. Continue investigating. I might have time for that once the papal schism is over.
God be with you, sir.
I'm looking for Nікvard. The scribe told me you might know something about him.
Well, I'm waiting for Lord Libac to stop by. I brewed him another phial of medicine, but I don't even know if the last one helped. I told him to stop by for another one soon. I reckon he must be feeling better.
Did he say where he was headed?
I can't say. I promised Lord Libac his secret is safe with me, as well as his phial of medicine.
Oh, come now. Nікvard misplaced an important book somewhere. A sort of alchemist cookbook. I need to find it.
I remember the recipes by heart. And Lord Libac's secret is certainly worth more than any book.
Listen, Bertha. Do you realize your stubbornness is making everything more difficult? Nікvard borrows a mysterious book, suddenly he stops talking to the scribe, and falls ill. And when the only person who wants to get to the bottom of it comes to you, you keep mum. You don't want to have Nікvard on your conscience, do you?
I suppose you're right. I reckon Lord Libac would forgive me if he knew I was only trying to help him, right?
I'm sure he would.
Well, it's a common potion for a bellyache. Just better tasting. It helps your meals go down easier and come out slower the other end. In that regard, Lord Libac had, well, how to say it? Everything came out much too quickly.
Nykvard didn't have time to run down the stairs, eh?
It was in the privy down below the crone, by the training ground below the guardhouse. I helped him clean his hose and made him the medicine, and I promised that I wouldn't say anything. Lord Libac is quite particular about the impression he makes on the young maids, you know. He didn't want this little episode to put them off. That's why he didn't use the privy near the maids' quarters, though it's closer to his chamber, but to the arena instead, and only when there weren't any soldiers around. But this time, it caught up with him.
Is that all?
What else is there to say? That the entire time he looked as if he'd done the worst thing in the world. It happens to the best of us. And I told him as much then. I'm just surprised he never came back for another file. I must say, he did look as if the fate of the entire castle was suddenly on his shoulders.
I don't know if this is going to do me any good.
Well, you could have found a worse clue.
Thanks anyway.
What was it I wanted?
Do you know where I can find Nykvard? The scribe said you might know.
Erazim is suddenly interested in Nykvard and me. You don't say. But when I need him to read something for me, he never has the time. I'm sorry.
I was asking about Nykvard.
Aye, I heard you. Say, can you read?
I can.
In that case, would you mind reading this message I have from Nykvard?
Show me. Dear Mistress of the Chambers. What is it?
Oh, what I wouldn't give to get messages from someone else. Say, Lord Capon. Never mind. Read on. Though I reckon it interests you more than me.
Persevere. We shall soon escape the dungeon of those two women. Cursed fate, however, has placed an obstacle in my way. The heat of the Lightbringer's potion is working, and I can feel my insides being reborn. But when the last remnants of old age left my body, something else was washed away with them.
How much longer is it?
Not much. My damn clumsiness has sent all of the Lightbringer's secrets into the void, but fear not, I shall get them back. May this be the first task on the road to your liberation. That's it.
Beautiful.
That was complete nonsense. I was embarrassed to read it.
Imagine how I felt having to listen to it.
But what does it mean? Can you explain any of it to me?
Lord Libac has taken a liking to me. I suggested to him it wasn't proper for a noble to have an affair with a maid. He thought I meant he was too old for me. But then he found what he calls the Lightbringer's potion book. He said it would light a flame in him that would burn out all that's old. So I suppose it worked. Hooray!
I know the book he's talking about, but what does he mean, into the void?
Look, can we stop talking about this? I feel a little uncomfortable here talking about some old lovelorn nobleman.
I need help. You can give it some thought, can't you?
No! And now leave me alone.
I'm looking for Nykvard. The scribe told me you might know something about him.
Hey, Nick. I mean, Lord Libac. I almost forgot about him. I suppose his task wasn't so pressing, hmm?
What task?
Nick Libac, that is, entrusted me with a big task quite a while back. He's a castle lord. Obviously, I had to obey him. But then I heard what another castle lord was planning, von Berghoff, and I had to obey him even more. He says there's a war on. So here I am, ready to go off to battle.
I need to know more about what Nykvard asked you to do.
No. There are new rules now. You have to prove you're not a spy.
What are you blathering about?
Von Berghoff said there's a war on, right now. I told him, watch out for spies, Sir Otto. But fear not, I know how to sniff them out. You're a spy yourself, ain't you?
I'm not.
Ha! That's exactly what a spy would say. That's why you have to be vetted, to see if you're really on our side. The side that Nіквард's on, just so you know. We're all friends here. You can join us.
I'd like to.
Hold your horses. First a test.
Tell me what you want from me, then.
A sword.
Sword? Hmm? What sword?
A long and very good one to help me deal with other spies. If you bring it to me, I'll know you're not an enemy spy who should fear me. Forge one, buy one, or even steal one for me. Maybe from one of the guards at the training ground or down by the gate. During the day, they're not in the towers anyway. Once I get a sword, I'll fill you in on Nіквард's task.
You wanted a sword?
That's perfect. Lovely. I don't think you're a spy. Can't say for sure, but you seem all right.
What about Nіквard, then?
Nікvard asked me to do something for him. He must have admired my devotion to Lord von Berghoff. Either way, Nick looked troubled and not very healthy. He wanted me to fetch him something he lost outside the castle. And I told him I would. At least I could check to see if anyone was sneaking around about the castle. But then Nікvard clutched his belly and ran off. So I never found out what he wanted, or from where.
That's all?
Aye. If you run into Nікvard, ask him if he still needs it or whether he found it himself. I'll be going into war soon, so I don't have time for these things, see?
I'll tell him. You must be Nікvard, eh? Poor wretch.
Good day. Where's that damn gravedigger? I hope someone pays for a requiem mass.
How many more times am I gonna have to poke around in corpses and shit for that damn cradle? I have the book for you.
Well, I must admit, I haven't had an apprentice this handy in a long time. Zinnik has nothing on you.
I had a peek inside. The pictures are nice, but what do you want to learn from them?
You'll find out soon enough. Show me that miraculous thing. This really is something. But why is it all covered in shit, for fuck's sake?
Not the essence of life from the skies didn't bother you, and now you're squeamish.
Refining saltpeter. Boil wine and alum. Grind. Ah, of course, it makes sense. I'll study the rest on the way. Well, the last chapter of our story of knowledge awaits us. The grand finale.
I'll let you read through it and come back later.